Welcome back to another Habs Locker Room Report, the last one of the year 2023. This is Coach Frenchy directly for the beautiful country of Thailand. And we are directly from Augsbury, co-host Marko Larabi. And from Toronto, inside of the caveman somewhere, Mr. Enortap back in the house, alias Santos.
Hey
Santa
guys,
Claus.
welcome Hockey Nation
Santa in the
Welcome.
house.
Welcome
in the
back. Thanks
house.
to be with us tonight.
Representing.
This is the last one of the year for all of us. Honestly, we hit the holidays next weekend. Is the time of the holidays, and then we're going to take 2 weeks off until we'll be back only in January 2024. We'll see what the Montreal are going to look like after the trip they are right now. This moment, but we're going to talk about what happening again in the Winnipeg Jet. But of course, we have other subjects. But before we start, welcome everybody in the chat. Don't forget, please, to click on the like. That'd be awesome. And we're going to go very quickly who we have in the chat. Then we can move on with everything we need to do. First of all, look, Go Abs Go is in the house tonight. Hopefully doing well. Thanks to you with that. Here we go. I do some tests, guys. I don't know what's going on. I had no clue. I cannot to figure out that one, but it's okay. It's not a big deal. But I test before when we turn on the switch, it looked like it's going to happen. But it is what it is. No big deal. Look, Go Abs Go in the house. JJ Evans is in the house. Modérateur Danny T is in the house tonight. Directement de la belle province de Québec, dans la région de Sherbrooke. Il est de retour avec nous ce soir. Nicolas de Goubi-Bonneau. Welcome back, Nicolas de Goubi-Bonneau. Larry Lavallée sit somewhere in Tucson, Arizona. Larry Lavallée, maybe on the balcony, who knows. Larry, enjoy his time over there. Thanks to be with us. Always a pleasure to have our friend Larry is in the house tonight. Here we go. Willie Snyder, directly from Arvada with Moose, is in the house tonight. Hopefully, doing well. Hopefully, no snow in Denver at that moment. Directly from Bangkok. Good morning. Happy Thursday, Mr. Roy is in the house already tonight. Hopefully, Roy have an amazing, great night. Ready to rock and roll. About that, our friend Patrick Leblanc in their house tonight. Patrick, welcome back. And our best driver, UPS in North America, back home early tonight. Oh, I was surprised to see him early. This is a big time for him. Gary Cornoyer, the road runner, back in the house tonight. And we have Mr. Ted Howard is in the house tonight. Ted, thanks to be with us. Welcome in the show. I think it's the first time. If not, welcome back. And we appreciate everybody to be with the Hockey Nation Live show. And tonight we have a special night. Of course, it's the time of the holidays. And I said, you know what? Let's do something special and let's prepare a wish list for the Montreal Canadiens. And some people talk about playoff. If GSM was right here, he would say playoff, playoff. But he's not here yet. I can wait to see him the next couple of minutes. And then if you follow the channel, every day I make a video. Yesterday was a good one. It was about Slafkovsky. And today is about Monahan. And keep or trade. There was a big question. I give you some pro and cons about that situation with Sean Monahan. So that's what we're going to talk about this night. And of course, going to review the game between Montreal and the Winnipeg Jets. Happening a couple of days ago. And I'm going to talk a little bit the next two games at the end of the week for Montreal and other subject we have on the program tonight. So we have a full 2 hours together. Sit at home on your couch, take the dog beside you, give him some cookies or something like that, and then be ready
Eggnog with
about
the
that.
dog's head.
But don't put him out. Don't go walk because you're not going to miss the show. So stay with him. Tell him you have to be down until 11 o'clock p.m. We have a few people knock the door before we start. After Gary Conroy, we have Jerry from Sweden is in the house tonight. Gary, I said Jerry, but it's Gary. I don't know why I said Jerry quickly, but it's Gary. He's not from Sweden. I apologize. William McClary is in the house. Ready with the Polaris at 440. Thanks so much. You said Winnipeg 4 and the Detroit Red Wings 1. Ooh. Detroit.
Winnipeg.
RDP is in the house tonight. RDP from Newfoundland is in the house. Buffalo Sabres. Hopefully doing well. Let's talk about the Buffalo for a couple of days. RDP said that about that. Look, go Abs, go. Merry Christmas to all the Ab Nation. Great. Merry Christmas too. Look, thanks so much about that. And then we have, I think my wish is a long term one. First round draft pick will do very well about that. We'll talk about all the wishes the next couple of minutes. And notre ami, the l'ange gardien, the angel in the house, not the angel on the bike. We know Luc, he was one of the president of the Quebec area with Theodore, but now he left Theodore with Lapointe. There's another story another time with Joliette area. But Luc Laperson is in the house tonight. Luc, thank you so much to be with us. Hopefully doing well, Luc. Another great fans of the Hockey Nation show. I appreciate that. And talking about notre ami, why not to talk about our friend Luciano Graziano is in the house tonight. Welcome back, Luciano. Thanks for with us. Join Danny as a moderator. That's what we got here tonight at this show. Can wait to hear it from everybody. Thanks to be with our Canadian show. And the first thing we do, Enortap.
Is our headlines.
Here you
Yes.
go. For some points, maybe he did not remember, but he did it very well, man, Marko. He did it very well. So we're going to keep him at low time tonight. Three excellent headlines, guys. I can't wait to talk about this. I'm very curious about to hear from you, Mr. Marko, about your headlines. And it is the best of 7.
Yes, Coach. So for my headline this week, I think it was an amazing opportunity to talk about the best of 7. It just turns out that this traditional Christmas trip that Montreal does, it's going to be 7 games, which we all know in hockey and in sports in general is kind of a magic number for a playoff series, right? So it's a very good technique that I know St. Louis used in the past, and I know many other coaches have used in the past to set kind of like short-term objectives for a team, right? So sometimes it's better not to kind of like focus on a big objective, like we're trying to make the playoffs, we're trying to do this. It's setting small objectives. So what I hope St. Louis is doing is for this 7-game stretch, which is separated by a little bit of a holiday, the guys will get to fly back home, be with family, eat some turkey, all that stuff. But so we had the first game in Winnipeg, which was we won game 1 of our series, right? So we're up 1-0 in the best of 7 series. What I'm looking for here in this 7-game span is, can Montreal win the series? Can they win 4 games out of 7? I think all of us would be really happy with that result. For those who are really kind of passionate about Montreal staying in the playoff race, I think it's critical. Last year, if I'm not mistaken, they went 1-6-1 or something like that, something to that effect. They only got 3 points. I know they only got 3 points on this road trip last year. So that was for, if you're really trying to stay competitive and stay in the race, well, this is a critical piece and a critical part of the schedule here is to stay 500 or even better, win the best out of 7 series, Coach. I think it's a great technique when coaches use that. They set the objective, to really focus in on it. I think it's good especially for a young team that hasn't experienced playoffs. I think it's a great mental exercise to keep the guys focused. Enortap, what do you think? I'm sure you've heard of coaches using this technique before. Do you think this is something that St. Louis might be trying with his guys?
Yeah, absolutely. It's about setting small goals, and with those small goals, you meet the big goals in the end, right? I was afraid you were about to mention the P word when I saw best of 7, but I know you feel the same way I do about the possibility of a playoff spot. It's unfortunately, I don't think this year, as close as we are, is going to stand strong there. But yeah, if you can get them to believe, and right now they're playing very competitively, that's all you need. And I think they got, if not the hardest, one of the hardest games out of the way already.
I don't know. I think, and by the way, guys, just a bit of a pet peeve. So I was watching the press conference with Martin St. Louis today. and I forget which reporter it was, but he went around and he asked Saint Louis, he asked every single player this question: "Hey, are you guys aware that you haven't won in Minnesota in 11 years?" You know, and of course, none of the players know that. None of the players even think about that. Even Saint Louis had no idea about that statistic, right? For me, those types of statistics mean absolutely nothing. Like, I don't think do we even have a player that was with the team 11 years ago? Maybe I guess Gallagher would be the only one that was close to being there 11 years ago. To me, it's a question that makes no sense. I don't know what the reporter is trying to get at when they ask that question. All you're doing is you're planting a seed of doubt in all the players. They weren't thinking that before, but now, oh geez, we haven't won in Minnesota in 11 years. Oh geez. So I
I
don't know
don't
why
even
they.
I don't even think it'll cross their mind, Marco. They weren't there, so as you said,
Yeah,
the only thing that's relevant is maybe the last 2 or 3 games that they may have played, but even
yeah.
then,
It's
it's
a Western
difficult to.
Conference team, right? So they only see them
Yeah,
there once a year. But
once a
the
year.
reason I bring that up is I think probably Minnesota, in the first half, right? Because I think we can all see the second part of this road trip is going to be the toughest one when they start rolling into Florida, Carolina, and Tampa. That's really where things are going to the death row of kind of like this trip. If they do really want to have a chance to win the 4 out of 7, I think they have to win this Minnesota game. They have to win the Chicago game. So in the first half of this best of 7, I think the toughest game is going to be Minnesota because overall they've been playing pretty well. Overall, it's just a team that plays heavy and maybe doesn't really match up well against Montreal. So I think if they can bring out a win tomorrow, I think it looks like Primo is going to probably be the one that starts in Chicago. So good chance to utilize him. So hey, real opportunity to start this road trip 3-0 if they're able to get this game in Minnesota tomorrow. So, Coach, what do you think? Do you think Montreal can pull out a 4 out of 7 victory here in this 7-game road trip?
I was thinking to not to repeat what you both of you said, but I want to mention to you, Minnesota played their third game in the last 4 nights. So I
That's
don't
good.
know, would be a big factor on that one there. The game of the one again Boston will be maybe enthusiasm, like make more positive on the good side for them. But again, 3 game and 4 night, guys, not easy. So
Tough.
we'll see
Yeah,
from Montreal how they're going to respond against this.
yeah. But Coach, do you think they can win 4 out of 7 on the road trip?
4 sevens, I will give a 8 point on 14, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but that's
Safe,
great.
yeah,
There what they are, right? 5-16 they are right now, 509,
yeah.
something like that. Uh,
yeah,
that was a chance about this. I would say to you, yes, uh, I will go that way. 8 point, that would be a good number for me. If you can get out with 7 point, Marco, this is great. That would be great to get 500 against those team. I think this will be Martinson would be very happy if this happened. So I agree with you about that.
Have faith.
awesome.
They'll do it.
We'll see. Let's move on for the headline. Great headline, by the way, Marco. Appreciate that. This time, sir, and Enortap, he watched my video today. The
Yes,
money
coach.
hand, ladies and gentlemen. The money hand. Love that one, Mr.
Monahan.
Enortap.
Yeah, you inspired me after that video. Like, oh, okay, I'm going to make it part of the headline tonight and talk about this because there's been a lot of speculation in terms of what's the right thing to do, what's the wrong thing to do with Monahan. And I think a lot of times you have to think about it objectively, and you can't keep you can't get emotions involved too much in making a decision like this. You have goals that you've set for yourself as a team, and you have to see where that takes you. And if there's an option where at trade deadline time, you're going to get a great return for Monahan, it's definitely worth exploring. I think the options are pretty much one of three. Number one, they sign him to an extension here in Montreal. That's not out of the realm of impossibility because I think if the price is right and in your video, I did comment. I said for me, it would be between 2.5 and 3. And you've mentioned as well, Coach, in the past that he's made his money already, and now he's a different person in terms of family and becoming more stabilized and whatnot in a certain place. So that might be something that he may or may not explore, but it's one of the options. The other option, which is probably more likely, is at trade deadline time. He gives us a very good return. You may even want to package him up with a defenseman and get a very good top level A prospect that is a forward, a winger, perhaps. Stuff like that usually doesn't get done at trade deadline time. It's something that happens more over the summer, but it's something to explore because let's face it, at trade deadline time, that's when the coaches, or not the coaches, but the general managers, risk the most, and that a lot of times they gamble on players that they bring in. We saw that with the Rangers last year, bringing in a couple of big guns when things were going well for them, anyways, and then they had that exit in the playoffs at the hands of New Jersey. And for me, I think the third option might be quite viable as well, and that is try to squeeze as much as you can out of Monahan in terms of what he can bring you in return at trade deadline time. At the end of the year, he's a free agent. If you really want him back in Montreal, and he wants to come back to Montreal, you can arrange something during the summer, and he comes right back, and he brought you an asset as well of some sort. So, I think that that's pretty much where I stand on these three things. I tend to lean towards he has to go at trade deadline time, and we'll see if it actually comes to fruition.
Yeah, like this is a very, this is going to come up a lot, right? Like this is going to be something we're going to be watching really closely here for the rest of the year. Enortap, I totally agree with the three options. I just maybe disagree a little bit on how realistic some of those outcomes are, to be honest. Like in terms of Monahan agreeing to, like, I get it. You guys feel that he's made his money and, he's really happy in Montreal. And if he decides to stay here, it's not going to be a factor. But that's not the culture, guys. Like the NHLPA doesn't let guys operate like that. Like there's a lot of pressure to, you're not going to sign 1.5, 2 million, 2.5 million under market. It's just not something that's done. Patrice Bergeron and Brad Marchand are kind of the exception to the rule, more than the rule itself. So I don't expect, I think, Coach, you had the number of 3.5 as kind of the maximum amount that you would look at for Monahan over 3 years. I even think that's a bit light, to be honest. Like if he projects to be around, I think you had him at 24 goals, 50 in the high 50s, maybe close to 60 points. That's close to $5 million, guys, probably on the market, especially for a 3-year term, right? So, so with that, then it comes with a lot of tough questions, right? Like, I think I've made my position really strongly known on this channel about my philosophy when it comes to signing free agents. Skating for me, and I know that Monahan is a very smart player positionally and all those things, and being a smart positional player does compensate a little bit for mobility issues. But for me, I'm not ever signing somebody over 30 for a long period of time if their skating is not elite. Because if their skating is elite, if their hands, like, in hockey, we call it the wheels falling off. If the wheels fall off, it's very hard to play any meaningful role on a team. If your hands fall off, if your hands and your finishing decreases and whatever, you can still play an important role on a team, contribute. Like I always use the example of like a Cogliano or other players that reinvent themselves and still play a really important role on their team, even as they get older. So for me, Monahan, marginally, especially with his hip issues that he's had, I'm really concerned about mobility issues in the future. So,
I
I
agree.
know you can always put a guy on LITR and everything else, but this, but on so that's but to play devil's advocate, if you look on the free agent market this summer, Monahan, if even at 4.5 million, is pretty good value for because look at the Senators right now, right? Like the Senators right now, and I know it's a whole other show talking about the Senators right now, but to me, the biggest problem with the roster construction of the Senators, there's not enough veteran leadership in that. Like the coaching staff has been very. DJ King was very honest. Like they were miss Marc Brassard big time this year, right? And instead they go get a guy like Tarasenko, they get Kubalik, guys like that. So there is a lot of value in what Monahan brings to the dressing room. It just really depends how much you're willing to pay for that. I'm a little bit more willing to pay for it if the skating is at an elite level, right? So it's a tough question, guys. It's a very tough decision for Kent Hughes. My hair won't catch on fire if they sign Monahan for 3 years at 4.5. Will I kind of freak out? No. Like I believe that he's a good asset to have. As long as he stays healthy, I think he'll provide good value. But I don't know. It's a very tough one for me, guys. Like I'm really on the fence on it. Last thing I'll say about Monahan, yes, he's very useful, but I have you guys noticed that his defensive play this year not as strong as you would expect for a veteran centerman? Like there's that period of time, that line with Gallagher and with Pearson, like they started off really well 5-on-5, but then it really dropped a lot. And, for a guy who's supposed to be a veteran guy showing the example, there's a lot of time that he misses defensive zone coverage as well. So would you rather spend that money for someone who is a little bit stronger defensively? I don't know. I'm nitpicking. Coach, what do you think? I know you just did a video on this. Do you honestly think they could get him at 3.5? Do you think that's realistic?
I'm not sure it's realistic because we don't really don't know what he's thinking, everything like that, right? But you have other
Yeah.
factors to come in my opinion about like he loved to play for Martin Saint Louis. He loved Montreal area. He have a great family. He want to build a good family. He's really like he likes to live in Canada. He's been many years in Calgary. And point behind that is for me is like if you're thinking, okay, he can get more money, $5 million somewhere, right? But put him at a good team like Colorado, example, right? How many
Yeah.
minutes per game he will drop for 18, 19 minutes per minute per game at what? 13? He will not have power play or barely maybe unit number two, but not all the time. His PK will be a little bit limited compared to was before. So this is another factor, guys. We know the player love to play hockey. They don't want to sit on the bench. So his responsibility with Montreal will be still increasing. Secondly, a team, guys, who will spend $5 million for one specific player like him, I would say to you, for me, he's at the high danger risk injuries. Like if you look about ladder, I would put him at the top injury reserve. If you put $5 million on him, you can sign a UFA like Renard at $6.57 million, and if he scored 30 goals per year, and what he brings for an extra 1.5, but his injury, it will be not like money. There's another factors nobody talk about. This is injuries. Now he looking good, guys. 31 game he play only. Can he consist that way until the end? At the last finale, I would say, Marco, you nail it. I think Monahan on defensive zone coverage, he struggled. He's -8, I believe, right now. But he got overall, he have a difficult time. On the flip side, Marco, it's like he said, it's not easy, guys. Maybe he could have an extra 5 point if he was play with better hockey player around him and not play carry on Pearson, Gallagher, Armia, Anderson, Olinen, name it, right? RHP, he carry on them all the time. He's not complaining. I think he's good in the locker room. He's a good leader. The cause of this is all depends of him, honestly, and the Montreal Canadiens, how they see that. For me, my only reason why I would love to keep him because I don't see anybody right now in this organization, Montreal Canadiens, can take his spot at that level. I don't see it. At least we are sure Kirby Dak is good, and then you keep Christian Dvorak on number 3. Otherwise, this is something I feel like if we can get that kid, that player, below $4 million, I will do it. But
And sorry,
if not,
one last thing though, guys, to remember, right? This summer is the first summer that the teams know that the salary cap is going to be going up, right? So, coach, like when you say Sam Reinhart, for example, at 6, or like I don't know, man, like Sam Reinhart may more be like $8 million this year, right?
I was surprised he get $8 million, Marco,
The consistency
That's
is
well,
not there.
I don't know,
because
guys. I don't know.
Marco, this is his first year he was going to reach that level. And secondly, if
Yeah,
I'm a GM, Marco, I would say, wait a minute, he play with Barkov right now. Can he does the same thing if he play with Dave Thompson? Can he does the same thing if he play with Souza? Again, I'm just give you, And then secondly, the last couple of years, he's always been second line, third line, second line. He never been on the top of the line right now. And
yeah. I'm not
he
saying that I would do it. I'm not saying I would
oh
give
yeah,
him
yeah,
the
yeah,
eight
yeah.
million
I
dollars,
understand.
but somebody might. Like it's just all we have to say is that we've been in this routine over the last since COVID and even a bit before, where we've been in this salary cap neutral world, right? So we just have to keep into consideration that with the cap going up, that means that some of these prices might be a bit inflated. So just something to take into consideration. So 2.5 Intertap, I think you get,
Yeah,
your agent his agent
no,
doesn't even phone.
yeah, but the
3.5.
thing is, Marco, you have to. The reason why I went lower, I said 2.5 to 3, depending on the term. And term, I would definitely not go anything over 3. As a matter of
Yeah.
fact, 2 years would be perfect. But this is the kind of decision that both Hughes and Gordon are going to have to struggle with because, as we mentioned, it's not about his value. He's definitely worth 5 million in terms of what he contributes, but you have to keep that in proportion with the injury element. And is it something that you're going to risk and have to live with 3 years if something goes drastically wrong? And with for me, it's more about acquiring some assets that will help the team down the road. I'm not saying that Monahan is not useful to Montreal. He absolutely is, but you have to think about the long term and not the short term gain. And that's why I'd be willing to trade him at trade deadline time, because that's when the price will be the highest. If something goes, we saw that last year. It looked like they were prepared to trade him. He got injured with the foot, and we lost an opportunity then. Now you might say, okay, we gained it this year, but the thing is, if he's really willing to come back and he really loves it here, Montreal loves him, they'll find a way to get back together. It happens.
Guys, all we can be happy about is that Marc Bergevin won't be negotiating the contract.
Secondly, the end of this conversation, guys, can use always drop the money on the contract. Like, look, the contract could be that. Look, the contract with Alex Newhook. Look about Montembeau. Look about RHP. Many time here in the chat, we always put more money for each player, and every time can you find a way to do a great package deal to respect his template of this plan about that. So,
Fingers
three
crossed.
things about for me is risk, injury, the value of money in return, and the value of his offer contract. That's the three things I can resume the headline of Mr. Enortap. So thanks so much, Mr. Enortap. We're going to finish with me. I want to be a little bit funny tonight because Martin St. Louis said all the time, Mr. Marko, he said what he said about Juraj Slafkovsky all the time. He's a kind of player, he likes to call him like what?
A unicorn?
The sponge Slav.
That's fine.
Tonight we got in the house. He call him the sponge. He sponge everything. He want to learn everything. He's on the video session all the time. He requests video. He want to learn and develop that way. The last 24 hours, we know he was questionable about his hockey sense. He talked about this part. But Martin Saint-Louis, he said he's like a sponge. He loved to learn. He want to develop better, to become better. And that's to remind me, SpongeBob. I did not grow with SpongeBob because I came a little bit early, but I make a SpongeBob better in live because I watch him all the time. But I didn't blame Mr. Enortap. Slafkovsky for me is like a sponge right now. He just want to become better. And for me, Marco, it's not about scoring goal. It's not about how I can shoot the puck in the net. How it's about the details of the game. He want to learn to go on the forward checking, how he can get better on forward checking, how he can win the battle to the board, how he can back check in the defensive zone, how he can coverage his men better. And all the details of the game. It's easy to play F1 on the offensive. You just go for checking behind the net. You're chasing the guy with the puck, and you're angling the guy. That's easy, right? But at the end of the day, it's harder when you play F2 and F3. It take a lot of IQ or hockey sense about this, and that's why he become a sponge for me. For Martin, so we talk all the time because you want to learn to become better and the details of the game. It's not fun to become a 200 feet hockey player. It's not fun what Martin Sweet explained to the players right now for the Montreal Canadiens. It's fun to go score a goal. But it's not fun to protect the lead at the end of the game. It's not fun to learn about the details of the game. But him, Juraj Slafkovsky, the Spudge Slab, he want to learn better. He want to be better every single day. It's rare at 19 years old to have a player like him constantly request videos, and you want to learn every day. So that was my headline very quickly. I would love to hear from each one of you. Let's start with Mr. Enortap.
Yeah, I mean, he's demonstrated that all year long in my eyes. I know some people don't believe he's progressed as much as he should, but progression is not just a one-way street. Like you have to approach it from the different angles, and he's becoming a better all-round player, and that's the key thing. The production comes later. I mean, very few stars that are drafted number one will come out of the gate on fire right away. They're far and few. They're the absolute elite ones, like the Bedards and McDavids that came along, Hughes, and even Hughes in his first year didn't catch fire either. So it's I I personally love the way he's developing right now. He's showing that he has a willingness to learn on a day-to-day basis, and he's getting involved in the play every time he gets the opportunity. And let's face it, he's driving that line right now.
True. Marco?
Yeah. So first of all, Coach, great headline. And I just want to say thank you for not trying to superimpose Slash face on the sponge, because I think that would just look really weird. So I think very good choice to separate the two faces and do it that way. Because it's one of those things that maybe you can just never unsee after you've seen it once. So very good, very nice graphic and good headline. So I 100% agree, Coach. St. Louis has talked about this very openly. Slafkovsky is 100% a sponge, not only in terms of developing and building up his own personal game, but you could argue that his understanding of the team concepts is probably even more advanced than some of the veteran players. You know, at least his willingness to actually implement them is certainly ahead of many of the players. I won't name them, but many of the players that are currently on the roster. And that's exhibited by the great video that you did with that shift where you were showing where he was able to kind of like rotate between responsibility as an F3, then F1, then back F3 based on the need of the play and everything. Like, so 100%, to me, Coach, from the beginning, the comparable for me has always been Nichushkin. He's to me. By the way, if you watch Nichushkin play this year, my God, is that guy a beast? If we can get Nichushkin kind of result with Slafkovsky, he's going to be a really, really important player for us. And for me, he goes within the concept that we've debated a lot on here, guys, about how Are you going to build a team with a top-heavy lineup with players, okay, they get their points in the regular season, or you're going to build around a four-line team that plays the right way, that's going to win playoff games? I love that model a lot more than having 200-point players and you're paying 35% of your cap on like 3 players on your team. I won't name which teams. We all know what teams those are, guys, and they've yet to win most of the time. So for me, Slaf fits perfectly within that. We'll see if Reinbacher also turns out to be that way as well, because I know some of us kind of still wonder about that pick. But Coach, you're 100% right. I love the headline. I love watching this kid play. Very, very cool.
Marco, you have a comment from NSS said, like Nelson. Do you like that?
Nelson, yeah, like Nelson, he's a bit better of a shooter, I think, than Slaf is.
But I like the
For
compare. Like, if he can become
yeah,
that kind of plus, I think this
yeah,
is really good. Sometimes we try to find a bat, like you said, Niskushkin right now, right? But hopefully it's not the one he played for Dallas, by the way, but that's a story.
no, no,
Uh,
no, no. But see, guys, I know Enortap and I have talked about this before, Coach. I don't think you're totally sold on this idea yet, but Brock Nelson is a center, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah,
based on what Slafkovsky has shown me, anyways, like if you go back, guys, if everybody everybody watching, if you go back to the beginning of the show this summer, and we were talking about what to expect from Slafkovsky, the thing that we all agreed that he really needed to work on was his processing speed. So I really like the fact that you talked about his hockey IQ, Coach, because hockey IQ is very different than processing speed. I think he always had very good hockey IQ, but it's the processing speed that needed to kind of catch up with NHL level. And we're starting to see that now. When he goes into the boards, he's like looking behind him, kind of doing the shoulder checks and things like that. So the processing speed is going to get better in terms of his ability to make decisions quickly, to shoot and make passes. I think that's probably some of the things that really pisses off people right now, is that he's still a bit hesitant to shoot or to make a clear pass sometimes, but that's still processing speed. That's going to come to him. But the vision and the hockey IQ is there. So
yeah.
if we all agree that the vision, the hockey IQ is there, with the size this guy has, why wouldn't they try playing him at center, Coach? Why not? We're dying
The
for
big
a huge
center.
center. This guy plays a 200-foot game. He's big.
Yeah,
He's strong.
but now you have Zuski and Doc, and now you have to remove. You know what I mean? Like the position is almost filled up right now.
Well, hey,
Well,
internal
you could
competition, Coach. Internal competition.
Yeah, I know
plus
understand that.
on the
We're going
wing.
to finish that line if you don't mind in our tap. The Islanders just tied the game, by the way. Um, it's not Nelson's score, but it's a great question in the chat, and I would like to finish this way. What would be the next contract for Sarkowski in our tap? Do you go as short term? And if yes, how many years? If not, if you go long term, and then give us some value with with the number of the years. I would love to hear from you in the chat too. We have a few people talk about this. Abination talk at 2.9 for 4 years, but I would love to hear from both of you. Then I'm going to move on for the show tonight.
I think a lot of it has to do with where he's at in the next couple of years, and that'll dictate whether he'll want to capitalize on not getting just one but two payoffs down the road. And if that's the case, then he will go with a bridge, or he'll try anyways, for about 3 years, I would say. And I think, if the production is there and the growth is there, as we're slowly starting to see, I don't know why he's not in the $5 million conversation. Um, that seems to be the going rate with a lot of other players from that ilk as well. So I anticipate probably a bridge and then a long term 8 year deal down the road.
I'll say the same
Uh,
thing that I said about Caulfield really quick, Coach. This is what it comes down to for me, for players in these situations. How much do you want to bet on yourself, right? Caulfield, for example, I remember when we were debating how much he was going to get. To me, it's really about what is his agent and what is his family telling him about betting on yourself or taking the safe money and locking in long term, right? And when you look at Slafkovsky, look at his background, look where he comes from. I suspect that he might be willing to take a little less money to secure a long term contract. And, maybe it would be in the Habs' advantage to, because I think we all think that maybe his production is not going to be as high as where we hope it's going to be in the next few years. So maybe Montreal will be able to take advantage of that, lock him into a long term deal that is going to be pretty team friendly. Maybe they lock him in for like 6.5, 7 million. Because remember, guys, the cap is going up. I know 7 million sounds insane right now, right? But the cap is going to keep going up. So in 2 years from now, if they could lock him in for 6.5 or 7 million for 8 years, maybe that's something that they look at. I don't know.
Yeah,
It'd be hard.
I would disagree with you about that. I just look Rick talk about can we pay production everything like that. Um, it will either be similar to Lafreniere, $2.5 million for 2 years, or a long term with a lot of that part. Um, for Sakowski, I think like they gave 2 years to RHP, right? That's what they gave to him. They gave 3 years to Doc, I believe, and 4 years to New Hook, or vice versa. About that, they hit about $3 million. And I look for Doc. Could be Doc score 19 goal before he come to Montreal Canadiens, uh, and this is about 150 game. Sakowski at the end of the year, if he play all the game, is going to be about 120 game maximum. He's going to get approximately maybe 15 goals. So for me, I would expect Montreal Canadiens maximum at 3 years and approximately between $3 million. And for
Guys, like,
Sakowski, I would expect him to say, no, I would prefer to go with 2 years at 3.5 max. And then after that, I'm going to get my money back after that. But yeah, at the end of the day, I have no leverage a lot to negotiate a big contract. Now, I still believe he has still 1 more year to go, right?
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So tonight until the next year, can he produce 20 more? You know what I mean? Like we just assume for what he is right now. But in next year, we can completely be wrong because he can maybe increasing many things around his game and around the development, his productivity.
Yeah. I'm seeing comments in here like, 4 million over 8 years. Guys, like, again, I can't kind of overstate this. The cap is going to be going up. So the numbers that we're used to over the last 3 years, they're going up, right? Like, you have to look at it as percentage of the cap, right? And coach, like, isn't there a premium though for a first overall pick? Like, as a
yes.
first overall pick, you
You
can't
took the
compare it
words
to,
right out of my.
yeah, you can't even Doc, like, yes, he was a third overall pick, but a first overall pick, there was a bit of a premium associated to that, right? So, and I'm seeing a lot of people saying he has no leverage. His leverage. I'm not saying like, yeah, of course he doesn't have. He's a restricted free agent. I get that, but
No, he
again,
talk about
if
no leverage, about negotiation, about I think he talk about he has like 30 goal, 25 goal, everything like that.
yeah, no, I totally get that, and well,
Yeah,
but ultimately, yeah, like the team is in a position of power, but what I'm saying is that whatever the number is going to be, like I said with Caulfield, and I was pretty close with Caulfield. He did sign a long term deal, and it was like right around the number that I thought it was going to be. It comes down to what is his family and what is his agent? What are their values? Do they are they a bit like gamblers? Like, no, Slav, like we're going to bet on you all the way. Or sometimes when you come from a more modest background and things didn't come to you easily in life, sometimes you're going to lock in and take the safer bet and kind of take the money up front, right? So if that's the
yeah,
case, depending how he produces here in the next little while, guys, but that's really what it's going to come down. I think it's too early for us to kind of have that chat. We need to see
yeah.
how he's
That's
going to.
yeah. That's why it was difficult to answer because we don't know the
But
results over
again,
the
like
next.
Patrick said, I think the right player to compare is really Lafreniere. First round
Yeah,
Yes
pick.
and no. Yes and
First round
no.
pick. He did not produce the number. Lafreniere have more goal at him at the end of the night. And I
you have
think
to
that would be the
adjust.
right things to do. But I will
I think what's
you know, you cannot offer a contract at 20 years old, 8 years at least. He proved already he's going to get that number. He did not do it yet. So for me, low, low. 2 years, maximum 3 years, and about $3 million.
it's kind of like the same strategy Carolina did with KK, right? Like that kind of strategy in terms of long term. But coach, it comes down to also at the end of the day is you know is he going to want to kind of bet on himself or not? And I agree, Lafreniere is the right comparison, but you have to adjust for inflation. I guess inflation meaning the new cap reality, right? Like we've talked about before, you can't compare salaries player to player. Because what you have to look is the percentage of the salary that they have on the cap when they signed. Like McKinnon, like or McDavid, if they're like 9% of the overall
Yeah.
percent of the entire salary cap, that's kind of what you need to look at because that is consistent. You're saying, okay, this player is proportionally worth the same as this player was. Now, 9% of the salary cap was $2.8 million in 2019, but in 2025, it might be $3.8 million because of the cap. That's what you need to keep in mind.
Yeah, but now, like Zuski is at
And
9.4
you're
right now,
right.
both of
You're
them,
right.
right? 9.4. They're going to drop maybe at
Yeah.
8.5, maybe
But
when they're increasing the number next year, right? Uh,
Yeah.
but I would never give. I would. You cannot give the same number 8 years as Slafkovsky at $4 million. Kokanemi play on the second line. Kokanemi have now have the same kind of play the role. He's going to do Slafkovsky and Montreal. I would not do that if I was
So
Slafkovsky.
you,
Anyway, we can
yeah.
talk
yeah,
about
but
this for a long
do
time.
you, do you think, Coach, we have a comparable right on our own team, and that's Kirby Doc. I mean, he
Yeah,
hadn't
No.
that's what I
shown
said at the
much.
beginning. That's what he said.
He hadn't shown much.
It's a 3 years contract, maybe, Doc.
Yeah, and
Uh,
he's making what, three and a half million?
3.4, 3.1,
Right.
3.4.
So if you couple that together with what Marco said, and I agree with him in terms of proportionality over the next 2 or 3 years, that translates to about $4 million easily.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
both of them signed at 21 years old in our top. Yeah, so right. So he got a 4 years contract at 3.6, and New Hook got a $3 million, 2.9. So I believe he's
Yeah.
between both. He's between that area over there. So I expect a 3 years contract, maybe, or a 4 years contract about 3.3 to 3.5.
A bit
That's
higher.
wishful thinking, coach. I think it's going to be north of 4 million. I think it's going to be north of 4 million.
Yeah.
I don't see that at all. But we don't know what he's going to do next year. But if it was tonight, I would never give him $4 million.
But if he maintains the same productivity that he does now, which will be similar to Doc, right? He has similar production to Doc. If you're giving him the same money as Doc in 2025, you're essentially giving him less money than Doc was worth because
Right.
he would be less proportion on the cap when Doc signed. So if let's say whatever the number was, let's say Doc signed for 4.5% of what the full cap was when he
He's
signed
at
to his
4.0. It would drop at
4.0.
3.6, maybe.
Okay.
Right.
So whatever 4.0 is of the cap, assuming it's the same exact or very similar production, maybe it's a bit higher because of first overall pick. Whatever 4% of the cap is in 2025, which is going to be higher, that brings him over $4 million easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the one
Yeah, I
said
think
that
so.
don't give him money because we was rough with Kokanemi. We lose Kokanemi. So uh,
Yeah.
we'll see what happens about that. We have to move on, guys. We have a lot of talk. We almost hit the 10 minute over there. We're going to talk a little bit quickly the review of the game Winnipeg Jet for what happened in Montreal Canadiens. We know you talk a best of seven, but we not go deep about the game. Montreal won a goal-winning game-winning goal by Justin Barron. Uh, good, for me, it was a big W. And Montreal did not play well the first period. Uh, they have only 5 shots, and I understand the fourth checking. It was good, but it was not the best period, in my opinion. The pass was behind the player. The execution overall was not there. I'm not going to give it what's going on in the game, but I want to hear from you what you think about that W. 1 minute, 2 minutes, and that shot you can give us maybe the best player of the game, everything like that. That'd be great if you don't mind. Thanks, everybody. We have a lot of people pop up on the time. We did all the headlines, so we welcome everybody. I don't want to go back one by one. You know who you are. We wish everybody happy holidays, Merry Christmas. This is the last show of the year 2023. We're not going to get any weekly recap, and we take 2 weeks off. And our tab is going to Mexico, and Marko is going to be in Italy for the next 2 weeks. And we want to be sure we're going to be ready for 2024. So let's go with Enortap for that one.
As far as I can see, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I think they came in with the perfect road plan. They did not give much skating space for Winnipeg to get going. The forecheck was great. The back check was very solid as well. I know the first period, the shots on net were only 6-5 in favor of Winnipeg, but I thought Montreal still carried the play. If you look at the time of possession of the puck, you'll see that Montreal dominated. Well, not dominated, but had the distinct advantage in the first period as well. Second period was probably their strongest period of the entire year so far. I thought they got off to those 2 goals. They could have probably had more. Um, they killed off a couple of penalties, which was key and critical. And even in the third period, like Winnipeg really poured it on and outshot us 15-5. But this is what we talk about when we say development. In the past, we may have crumbled under those conditions. And one might say, well, yeah, Winnipeg did score 2 goals and we're lucky because they called that penalty on Ehlers, I think it was, at the end. Uh, but it was a penalty. I mean, you can't ignore that. But they sort of bent, but they didn't break, and that was key. And there were some excellent saves made when they needed to be made, and they took any opportunity that they had. I thought the overtime, the power play wasn't bad. It looked like the play that Burrows designed on the bench for it to happen. Almost, I mean, from afar, it seemed like that's exactly what ended up happening, and how appropriate that both brothers were on the ice, and our Baron was the one that scored in this case.
Yeah, great summary. I think Coach was saying Montreal didn't have a good first. I think overall it was just a very low event period, and as the road team, you're totally okay with that, right? Like Montreal,
Yeah.
I believe they're still, dead last in the NHL in terms of goals scored in the first. It's just
Well,
not
that's what
really.
Martin said. We said, by the way, just like
Yeah. So, yeah, like, listen, was it an exciting period to watch? Like, again, it was a nationally televised game, so you watch a lot of the Toronto media, and national media talk about the game. There wasn't a lot of games that night. And a lot of people found, it was just a really boring first period. But again, that's, as the road team, that's okay. You're not there to put on a show. You're there to, kind of take the crowd out of it a little bit and kind of settle into your game. So I think they did a great job of that. Kind of like, it's like stalemate, I would say, in the first period, not lots going on. Second period, I agree. Like, I remember, I don't have it in front of me, but I remember seeing that the offensive zone possession numbers did favor Montreal by a fair margin, not like dominated, but by a fair margin, right? They had a really good second period. Really solid, game overall by the Monahan line with Evans and Anderson. I think on our last show, guys, were like, if you had to guess that a Monahan, Evans, and Anderson line would be something that would click, it's kind of like, okay, like it sounds like something that you're just kind of throwing together, but kind of randomly. But it seems to be working. Like, it seems some like.
Yeah.
Let me this was going to be my original headline, guys, to be honest. Was hockey is weird. Hockey is just very, very weird for 2 reasons. First of all, Anderson, can't buy a goal all season. and then all of a sudden, boom, it's just the weird thing where like you get a fluky goal and all of a sudden they start going in. It's just so weird how hockey works that way. Like, I wish life worked that way. Like, I found $1 and then all of a sudden I found $20 and then I find $1,000,000. Like, I wish life worked the same way as hockey in that way. But it's just weird. And sometimes it's just weird how players that you never expect would match well together. You put them together for whatever reason, and it just works. And it seems for now, anyways, that Evans, Anderson, and Monahan seem to be playing well. They complete each other well. The one thing I'll say about Evans, if you go back, coach, and Enortap, I don't know if you remember, but he was for 2 goals against. He had the opportunity to clear the puck in front of the net. I believe in the last game, I'm trying to remember, but like he had the puck right in front of him and he missed the rebound from Montabo, and then they had an open net. And then there was, I think, another play on the second goal where he was directly involved too. So
he was
yeah,
reaching.
yeah, exactly. Right. So, really nice opportunity for Evans, to kind of get an elevated role. I think it's interesting, like, hey, I love that about Martin St. Louis and Kent Hughes too, right? Like, they've talked about this, like they wanted, and that's why they took guys like Doc and Newhook. They think that they can take players and get something more out of them that maybe other teams haven't. So if you're going to do that with new players that you're acquiring, why not try it with your own players? Like, they think that Evans has some upside. Great. Like, give it a whirl. Like, why not? And certainly Evans is a really strong 200-foot player, but with elevated minutes, elevated responsibilities, there's going to be a couple more blemishes, right? So if Evans wants to stay in that role, he's going to need to clean up those little things. But overall, I'm kind of nitpicking, right? Like, that line, St. Louis really wanted the team to get into the middle of the ice a lot more. I would say that both the Dvorak line and the Monahan line have done a great job of doing that. Armia's been getting into the middle of the paint. Gallagher has, since that Boston game where Gallagher, somebody pissed in his cornflakes that game, and he was like pissed off of everybody and like was the old Gallagher that we knew. Since that game, since that Boston game, I find Gallagher's been really intense, going to the middle of the ice and really dragging everybody along with him. And then we have kind of what's going on with Slav and with Suzuki and Caulfield, a little bit more sustained pressure with their forecheck. Slafkovsky winning pucks for them, when we know that with Suzuki and Caulfield playing alone, a lot of times it's kind of one and done with those guys when they're playing alone. So if you combine all those things, guys,
They're all positive.
you have a good formula going on with these lines. The fourth line with Stevens, okay, they're munching minutes. They're not materializing with that much, but they're certainly not hurting them either, right? So overall,
Look,
Allen had a strong game. You have to feel really happy for Allen, because I think he was due for for a bit of a goal support. He was getting 0 goal support over the last 7 games. And last thing I'll point out, guys, the Montreal Canadiens, now the only team in the NHL 7-0 when going with a lead into the third period. Again, hockey is weird. Hockey is weird. They are one of the worst teams in the league for goal differential, yet they're the only team that are 7-0 going into a lead into the third period. So hockey is weird. What are you going to do?
And just very briefly, just 2 final things there, Coach and Marko. Number 1, I thought that Winnipeg game was the difference was made in the special teams.
Yes,
Montreal
yes.
killed off, I think, 2 or 3 penalties successfully, and they scored 2 out of the 3. And the other thing, I bring it up every single game, and I'm waiting not to have to say it because it's a good thing, and I want to keep saying it. We won the faceoffs again. I think it was 46%. And the final thing here is, to me, what I'm starting to see, and a lot of times you hear the saying, the team takes on the image of the coach. And what I'm starting to see is the team is slowly starting to be a little bit more cerebral. But more importantly, it's a team that just doesn't give up. And that's a reflection of who Martin St. Louis is. It doesn't matter if you're behind 2-0, you're ahead 2-0. They find it within themselves to remain very competitive in every game, win or lose. That's right now it's irrelevant. Down the road it'll be a more important factor. But I like to see that they're taking on the dimension of what Martin St. Louis was as a player.
And
They have
Enortap, just to
a review and Islanders, Washington right now. The Washington score, but they're looking for high stick. Really interesting. If they bring back the goal, that goal,
mm,
it's happened like 20 seconds earlier. Wilson hit the puck over his shoulder. We don't know yet will be good or not, but here we go. The call is
So it's good.
good goal.
Yeah.
yeah,
Game is over.
very quick
That
Enortap though on that idea where uh, teams take on the personality of their coaches. I think I saw a pretty funny line on, I forget what show it was, but they were talking about the same thing, and they're like, I wonder is are the Ottawa Senators going to take on Jacques Martin's personality? You hope not. Like, you know,
no.
yeah,
Hey,
uh,
we're seeing it in Philadelphia as well, right?
yeah, I
Very
know for
gritty
sure,
team. Yeah.
absolutely.
Awesome. So pretty good overall for Montreal Canadiens. We'll see how they're going to do the rest of the trip. Like Marko said a little bit earlier, we're going to be follow up with the other subject. Add news. The most impressive the last few games. I would like to hear from which one of you start with Marco and I'm following by Enortap. Approximately the next 5, 7, 8 minutes, going to go for the wish list. Santa Claus, he's ready right now. He had 2 bottles of the Welcome, and now he's going to fall apart back. We have to be careful, but we're going to get there very shortly. But I would like to hit, the last couple of games, Montreal win a couple of games. They do looking good, better. I think, system wise, and, I would love to hear from you. What do you think? Maybe it could be a specific team wise, could be a players, maybe the coach, whatever you have. What stood out the most or more impressive the last couple of games, Marco?
Well, coach, it's exactly what we've been talking about all year, which and I think it might have been the thumbnail you used for one of our shows like for like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, which is looking for consistency, right? Like just looking for consistency, looking for a couple. I think in that game with Vegas, that was the remember that we'll call it the standard game, right? So they had a really good game against Vegas, and Saint Louis came out and said, "Hey, we've just established a new standard." And to be clear, like when they say we, when Martin Saint Louis says we've established a new standard, he makes a very strong point to say it's not me, the coach, setting that standard. It's the players that have to decide together that that's the standard that they want to play to, right? So Saint Louis comes out and says, "Hey, the team has established this new standard for themselves after this great game in Vegas." And then, guys, if you'll remember, they had probably their worst game of the year right after that against Boston. I think they might have gotten shut out or it was 5-1. I think it was probably that and the first game against Minnesota, which doesn't bode well for tomorrow, by the way. But um, that game against Boston was definitely one of the
Absolutely.
worst games, right? So then we were like, okay, so we know they have this standard, but now it's about they have to be able to hit this standard more consistently, right? And
Yeah.
my headline a couple weeks ago was it's an 80-20 league. You're never going to be at 100% of your capacity. You have to be able to be at an 80% capacity most of the time, and then you're going to do really well consistently, right? So what we've seen over the last couple games, I believe they've won 4 out of the last 5 games, or 4-1 or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. What you're seeing is them achieving a little bit more stability in those things and a little bit more consistency. And what you're seeing is the result of Saint Louis being able to have a little bit more practice time with his team because of the schedule and being able to focus specifically on things and then see his team go out and execute on the things that they worked on in practice, right? So so to me that's very exciting. And we'll talk about wish lists and everything else. Like at the beginning of the year, my wish list was I want to see Martin Saint Louis continue to evolve as a coach. I want to see the team learn how to play hockey. I don't care about points. I don't care how many goals Cole Caulfield scores, if he scores 50 or if he scores 30 or whatever. I want them to learn how to play hockey. And it's going to be hard because they're young players. It's going to be hard to be consistent. But I want to see a culture. I want to see an identity being formed. And I want to see visible signs of that develop through the year. And coach, Enortap, that is exactly what we're seeing over the last 5 games is tangible proof that they are improving in certain areas. And now it's just a matter, like I think I said this last time, right? Enortap is your the education, kind of analogy, which is okay. So now we're on chapter 4 of the textbook of how to play hockey under Martin Saint Louis. Are we ready to go to chapter 5 now, or are we gonna have to go back to chapter 2 and revisit things if they forget some of those lessons, right? As you learn new lessons, you have to be able to maintain and continue executing everything you've learned so far, right? So that to me, what's very exciting. The goaltending continues to be a huge story for Montreal. I believe we're in the top 10 in the league for most goaltending metrics right now in the NHL. So our goaltending to me is the MVP of the season. You could say it's Montembeault, but it's easily you could say all the three-headed monster of the Montreal Canadiens goaltending is the MVP of the Montreal Canadiens season so far, and that's what I think what we're seeing over the last couple of games.
Not that.
Yeah, that's very good, Marco. I think what we're seeing is that development aspect, right? And it doesn't always translate in quantitatively. And the other night we were trying to all make comparisons. Last year, first 28 games versus this year, have we gone anywhere? Maybe the numbers don't necessarily dictate it, but I'm seeing those little things. I'm seeing consistency starting to develop a little bit more, and that's what you need to have before you can move on. It's called the foundations before you build the rest of the house, right? For me, I'll try to go player wise, and I don't want to hit Slafkovsky over pound that over anybody's head again. We'll leave that one alone. And then I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll talk about Struble because I thought he's just been outstanding since he's come up. He shows poise, he shows patience when he's playing. He gets involved physically and doesn't make very many mistakes. But I'm going to leave that alone because we'll say, okay, it's a limited time period that he's been here, and I'm going to give a lot of kudos to Anderson, a person that could have easily thrown in the towel by now, but hasn't. He's consistently been bringing it every night. A lot of times it's been without any results, but in the last 2 or 3 games, we're starting to see that, now he's starting to get the lucky bounce. And we've always maintained Anderson is a streaky goal scorer. He can go the next 2 or 3 games scoring again, and then he might go quiet again. But one thing he does do is he does skate hard, and he's getting involved, and he's really using his body quite a bit more. I like the fact that every time there's a bit of a scrum, he's right in there and will not allow anybody to take advantage of any of the younger players around the team. So in the last, I'd say 2 or 3 games, I would give that honor to Anderson.
Well said, both of you. A team like rebuilding is always about roller coaster, up and down. Every time that I think, Marco, we all agree. Searching consistency on every department of the game. Uh, and I will go with Martin Saint Louis. Find his consistency with his line. Have to deal with injuries. Have to deal with other circumstances like three goalies. Who goalie that night, the next day, and the next day. I think for me, um, this was the most important thing for the Montreal Canadiens. But for the last couple of games, for me, is the group understood. Since they make 2 days practice with a fourth checking. Martin Saint Louis, a few people don't like Martin Saint Louis. I respect their opinion. But Martin Saint Louis explained the details of the game, how deep he go, how the area where other coaches never talk about this, the number, the touch on the ice. Try to create your best option on the ice, open up more for people don't have the puck, where to go with no puck, play a game with no puck. Because at the end of the day, guys, it's 90%. I think an average player during the game touch the puck approximately between 45 seconds to 108 seconds per game on the
If
60
you're a
minutes,
top player, if you're a top player, yeah.
right? So at the end of the night, you have to figure out how to play without puck. And I think Martinez, we've really passed its time to show to them. And the player buy it. It's now to execute, right? You learn, execute after that, and but they pay that pay off right now, and they send the plan, and they become a team with more discipline, less penalties, and again they have to improve a lot. But we'll see what happening. But very impressed right now for the team together, and I never thought we're going to be at the December 20 now where they are at the race at the playoff with 2 points behind. This is a crazy year. It's a wild hockey, you said, Marco. It's a wild season. Yeah, no, usually we said November, Thanksgiving, we can see who they are, what's happening. And you have minus 19 right now. Montreal, it is 17, and they're still in the race. You should be not there at all.
Yeah.
It's just crazy right now. A team, it could be like Pittsburgh, could make the playoff tomorrow, and a team like in the playoff right now could be out of the playoff. And Washington with the W tonight, with less game, are getting there. So and then the flip side, Detroit is going down, down, down. Again, Tampa is out of the playoff.
Parody, coach.
So
Parody.
very crazy about that. Let's move on, guys. When we talk about this, it was honestly the wish list of the night. We have its fun thing. I would love to hear from you guys in the chat. With a couple of celebrations, we're going to give the Santa Claus to give some work, and we're going to go that way, guys. Going to start with Marco with your wish list. We're going to go one by one. I make a figure out like I can carry on this one at a time, Marco, not five straight. So I think it will be fun. And then
Okay.
the people in the chat, give us a little bit your wish list of different things, the players, the coach, everything like that. And keep that wish list and for the season, not for next year during the summer, the NHL draft or the UFA or what you come in next year, but what you expect for the wish list now until the end of the year for the Montreal Canadiens on every department of the team. So this is the reason we did. We give you guys 15 wish lists. We have each one of us, so we have five different wish lists. And I think we don't have the same. So it was very good job for both of you. So I appreciate a lot again what you do. MSU is in the house. Thanks so much to be with us. Maurice Beyond knock the door. Don't forget, guys, to click on the like. I appreciate a lot. Merry Christmas for everybody. Happy holidays for everybody. Be safe. Be careful, guys. Life is short. So until then, Mr. Marco, you're the first one on the board.
All righty. Well, coach, I love Christmas. I love gifts. So I would love if the Habs could give me the following things this year. I'd be a very, very happy Habs analyst and fan. So, number one on my list, we talked about this all year. I'd like to see Suzuki and Caulfield buy in even more than what we're seeing now, right? So, yes, it's been better with Slafkovsky on that line, but I think a lot of us have pointed out here that, again, we know Caulfield is not going to be a guy that's going to win big physical battles. We know his size, but just playing on the right side of the puck a bit more often. Same thing with Suzuki, maybe a little bit more engaged, using his feet a little bit more consistently. We know Suzuki's really effective when he skates. And again, it's an 80-20 league. It's not always going to be perfect, but just a little bit more buy-in from Suzuki and Caulfield into what St. Louis is trying to build. That would be number one on my list. Number two on my list, are we going to debate them, coach, or we're just going to go through
No,
one by
we're going to
Okay.
go move on, whatever it is right now.
Okay. Number two, I've been talking about this since the summer. Please, can we move away from the man-on-man system in the defensive zone? Coach, I know you've tried to describe it as something else. What I'm seeing is a man-to-man system. A lot of analysts all over Habs land view it, and like they call it a man-on-man system. Whatever it is, I don't like it. It's very confusing. It works better when you have a well-experienced team Listen, we've seen what St. Louis can do when he gets his team to focus on improving in certain areas. So I'll say stop the man-on-man system / I would love for St. Louis, like for me, the very first thing in chapter 1 of our hockey book that I keep referring to has to be coverage in your defensive zone. That should be chapter 1. And it seems like we've started, I don't think we've reached that chapter yet, or at least I hope we haven't reached it yet, because it's not great. So I love that would be on my wish list, coach. Let's get away from this man-on-man system in the D zone. It is not working very well. Number 3, this has been on my list for a while. We've talked about it recently. I would love to at least have them, Jack Guy right now is in Laval, getting some minutes. Let's not get into that topic, or else we're going to go way off the rails, and we'll spend like an hour talking about that with this. We know how passionate people are about this, but I would love for them to give him, I can see, coach, you're restraining yourself, but let's not get in. No, coach,
But
don't do it.
Marco, I got comments on the video of the, I do every day right there, and we talk about which player go from forward, defenseman, everything like that. And this guy, I can't remember his name. I apologize for the person did it, but he told me, say, hey, John Gordick moved from defenseman to forward. And I said,
That's true.
OMG, that's
That's
true.
true.
Like nobody
true.
talk about Gordick, but it's
That's
true.
true.
Passed away, sad. He passed away, but
Yeah.
at a young age. But he's right. Like he
Yeah.
make me laugh when I remember that. I don't know if Enortap remember that one, but Gordick,
Oh
it
yeah,
was one of them.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, they
100%.
started off there.
So that's a great example, right? Hopefully, we think Jack I would have a little bit more upside, And by the way, John Cordick for Russ Courtnall, one of the best trades, probably one-sided trades ever in Habs history. Just as a little side note, Le Chevreuil
Thank the
for
Leafs.
John Cordick. Yeah. So that was a good one. But so he's in Laval. Why not give it a try? Give him 10, 15 games at forward and see what happens. I think we talked about there's such a logjam right now. So number 4, let's just keep Slaf on the top line. Of course, I saw somebody in the chat earlier. I forget who it was. I think it was might have been Maurice or somebody else. Say we want a meritocracy, right? So as long as Slaf continues to play this way, français comme s'il commence pas à se pogner le bang or whatever. Like if he keeps playing, the effort is there. Please keep him on the top line, regardless of production. I just want to see him continue to have this exposure, play these minutes. So you can juggle around with the other lines. You can even take Caulfield off that line, and I would still be okay with it. But I would like Slafkovsky to at least still getting top 6 minutes with either Suzuki or Caulfield, whatever the mix is. But I just don't want him seeing dropped on the third line when Newhook comes back or something like that. No, like Slafkovsky, I think with his effort, he's earned those minutes. Even when Newhook comes back, even when RHP comes back, as depth starts coming back to the team, I think I want to see him continue to play in the top 6 minutes. Lastly, for my top 5 guys, I can't even remember. Yes, looking forward for Hudson to sign his entry-level contract. That's a little further down the road, but that's going to be on my wish list. I'm very anxious to see. It's one of those things, guys, right? We're all really, really putting a lot of hopes on Lane Hudson. Well-founded. Like, we know he's very talented. We had, I think, Mark D and some other people, like we've had discussions in the chat about his skating and, whether he's going to be able to defend at an NHL level. This is a question mark that we need to get some answers for, right? Like, if we're going to make decisions about our left-handed D prospects, the overage of prospects that we have, before we start moving guys like Harris or other left-handed D, we need to have a pretty good understanding of whether we think Hudson's going to be able to be a difference maker in the NHL. So I'm really looking forward for him after the college season in the NCAA is over. Hudson will sign his entry-level contract with Montreal. He'll probably get to play 10 or 12 games, and he'll be on that. They better, and here, coach, I should have put 5B. Once he does sign and play some games, please put him on the power play, right? Like, you're not going to dress Hudson and not play him on the first unit power play. If you're not going to do that, then don't bother bringing him up. So that, to me, those are the things, my wish list. I hope Santa or Hugo or whoever it is that's deciding if I've been naughty or nice, I hope they'll take my list into consideration.
Awesome. Great wish list
Well done.
about this. Enortap, is this your turn over there? And
Sure.
Enortap, you have too
In
many on
no
the.
particular order.
You have too many
In no
on the.
particular
Santa
order.
Claus said, "Wait a minute, I cannot carry on all your luggage, Mr. Enortap. So I'm going to go with only 5 of your 7 there."
Yeah, for sure. And
Greedy.
the list could have been even longer, really. But in no particular order, number one, there has to be some movement at the trade deadline time. I don't think we are sellers. That's the bottom line. I think there's still some cleaning up that has to be done in terms of either some of the contracts or some of the players right now, as we talked about earlier, Monahan and a couple of others that maybe can draw you some good return. And it's something that needs to be explored in order to continue along um, the blueprint that Hughes and Gordon have set out for the team. Number two,
Sorry about that.
that's okay.
I'm the chat at the
Uh,
same time. Marco, you took a very quick, very slowly. You go too
yeah,
fast with it.
so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. To me, consistency really is the hallmark of a great team, and the Canadians aren't quite there yet, as we're seeing. If anything, right now they're consistently inconsistent, but they're getting much better at it. When you see a rebuilding team, um, you expect these growing pains to happen, but consistency doesn't necessarily like imply like a rigid conformity to a system. What it involves is setting out a foundation, as I mentioned earlier, and then adhering to it, right? And most importantly, it's the effort and the output that you put into it that that consistency has to follow. So I'm not going to go further on that because we did talk about that at length. Number three, this is for Rick out there. Okay, here we go. More Slafkovsky, please. Uh, you know, um, you know what? He's showing growth as we mentioned earlier, and why not? Why not the reward him, which they have over the last little while, playing on the top line. With that, the learning comes along, and you don't learn if you're playing on the third or fourth line simply because you're not put in different situations, and you're also, you don't have the ice time to sort of work things out on your own. But with this comes confidence, and with the confidence comes greater responsibility. So it's one thing leading to the next. And I like the fact that they've allowed him to be creative, to showcase his skills, and in turn, even grow harder with or more deep with his confidence. So kudos to the team for taking this slowly, and I'm glad that we're starting to see results with that. But I want to see more out of Slafkovsky as well. Number four, coach.
Yep.
This is the tough one for me. Well, no, this one's not the one, but successful trade deadline kind of goes hand in hand with the number one. Hughes delivered, I think, last year a master class during his first trade deadline that he had as the GM of Montreal. And he got some valuable players and prospects and picks in return for players that we gave, i.e., Petrie and
Kulak for Lane,
Kulak,
basically traded
Kulak,
for Lane
Lekanen.
Hudson.
I mean, Lekanen, was tough to give up, but we're starting to see that it slowly coming to fruition through Barron, and we still have the pick there as well. Sherratt was another one, and so I'm expecting him to pull some more magic out of the hat this year. I'll even lend him my hat if he needs it, but I think he's definitely capable. I think it benefits a team to have a GM that's been an agent in the past because he sees both sides of the arguments, and he knows how to strategically approach it. Not to mention, he's also through his own son's evolution of playing. He's also seen a lot of these young players in action, and he knows the ones that should become NHLers and the ones that don't, and that's always an asset. And the last one, number 5, no Florida hot streaks, please. Now, as far as I understand, and this has to do, I guess, with that draft pick that was very, very difficult to follow. If for some reason I think Florida doesn't make the playoffs, I think Montreal can obtain Florida's pick, and I don't even think, and I'm not certain about this, and I apologize, but I don't even think it's lottery protected.
Super Chat.
Slafkovsky!
Rivers, chop, chop, chop.
Slafkovsky!
Super
Slafkovsky.
chat, Rick Bengal and Dimitra. Merry Christmas, Mr. Rick and Dimitra. I appreciate that for the super chat number 1 of the night, Mr. Enortap. Sorry about that. We cut you in the middle of the Florida.
No, I was pretty much at the end of it because I've read it a couple times already, and it's very intriguing and a little bit difficult to understand.
For those of you who don't know, our colleague Marko D'Amico, if you go on Marco's Twitter page, he has it. He has his pinned tweet on his X profile has an article that explains it in great detail. So for anybody who doesn't understand it, I'll read it and I understand it when I read it, but then 5 minutes after I read it, I don't understand anymore. So when I try to remember what it is, it's a very nice article that's very clear that explains how that draft pick is working, but it's very complicated to remember for sure.
Yeah. And I think it sums up to the less successful Florida is, the better our pick will be.
Awesome. The wish list, Mr. Enortap. We wish the best. We're going to review your wish list at the end of the year, Mr. Enortap. Coach, what do you have on the for us? But I talked with the Santa Claus, and I said, we have no cheese, by the way, on that one. But that's a different time. Trade the goalie, please. Trade the goalie. I'm tired to see who's going to be goalie, who's not going to be there, who's going to be there, who's going to be there. Who's going to just trade one. I don't care who you is anymore. Just trade the goalie. That'd be perfect. That'd be great. I understand they're looking good, but at the end of the night, we need to finalize this. I think it'll be better. Because one thing we never talk about this, Marko and Enortap, mentally, it's not easy for goalies. Like, this is not like... we're only looking for the outcome or every night they look like. But for me, Marko, it's not easy for them. And I think to go that way, that limit the development of Primo and Montembeault at some point. We know what Allen can bring and understand that, right? But at the end of the day, I think it would be good enough now to trade one of them at some point. So it would be my first wish.
Or coach, is Montreal establishing a new trend in the NHL that you can have 3 goalies and be successful?
Oh yeah.
But at the end of the day, the reason they do that is because right now they are stuck with Primo not go to Laval.
I get it. I understand, but
I can understand your point of view about this. We know a couple of teams do that. And they will need 3 goalies at some point. But the best way to go up and down and not to keep 3 on the same team with the same team.
But coach, should the NHL increase the amount of roster spots on their teams to allow teams to carry 3 goalies? Yes,
I think
they should.
Sure. Why not? Why not?
I think if we do a show about what thing could change the next 5 years, example, I believe this will be one really recommend to have in the NHL for sure about that. But listen up that and Marko, improving the special team. We are stuck with the same number like last year. approximately 1% up and then 1% down. And this is something they have to be searching consistency. This is an area. At some point, they have a 12 goal power play in the first 15 game like that, where they score every game. Every time they get a slump 0-8 and consistency, and then the PK was a bit better. They dropped down after that. But I believe, and that's something could be involved with the injuries, change the personnel of the PK, bring new player specific role. Nothing we want to give to Olenin and Pesada and we can go Josh Anderson. Then the injury of David Savard didn't help, and I can go all the way like that. But inconsistency of the special team have to be better at the end of the year for me. If they want to continue to perform. No injury to key players. And we know, like New Hope and Doc, Savard, we just mentioned him. But for me, it would be hard for Montreal lose. They lose, example, Caulfield, Zuski, Slafkovsky, Monahan. Those 4 players for me, that would be a little bit. Same thing with Madison. Montembeau, I think that Primo Haddon can hang in there, but I'm not sure about that. But they are very important. Montreal don't have more injury for the rest of the season. Following by keep developing the young players. And when I'm talking about players like Caulfield, Suzuki, Barron, Coley, Slafkovsky, and those young players are 24 years old and younger. Keep continuing to develop them to get better until the end. I don't care about the outcome. I don't care what will be the rest, the standing at the end. But developing them more and more and more. That'll be one measure. And my last one, guys, is a bit not a buyer. Mr. Enortap, stay with the plan. Don't buy anything at the trade line, Mr. Enortap.
Yeah, they're sellers. They're sellers. I told you.
Whoa,
Just
well,
stay in the plan of that one. That fan will be excited. It's fun. I can understand that. You know me. At the end of the day, I'm really sick, me. But I will be fun to see Montreal to stay longer in the race about that. A long term, I
of
don't
course.
think so. A long term, I'm a little bit limited. I'm a little bit 50-50. But for me, don't change the plan. Don't try to please Martin St. Louis or the team. So, you know what? Give you a reward. We're going to get whatever to helping the team to get maybe in the playoff. I think Montreal,
Okay,
I don't
okay.
see them yet anyway. But it's
No,
fun to be in December and we're still around that part over there. And
yeah.
we'll see what exactly about that. Not a buyer, please. Can you stay in the plan about that? I think that would be the right things for the Montreal
But
Canadiens.
coach, on that last one, so I think by the end you explained it well, but I think Montreal can still be a buyer, but not for not for empty calories, not for a short-term solution to help them make the playoffs. But I
Right,
would
right.
like to see them be a buyer. Like if you could trade Jake Allen, let's say for some reason you have a very good young prospect that is available because you have a team that is looking to add Monahan, Allen, a defenseman, and then if you could add a pick and add another asset and then get an elite blue chip prospect, to me that's still buying, right? You're not buying to as a short-term solution to help you make the playoffs, but you could still be buying at the deadline, but buying an asset that makes sense for where they are in their plan.
But
But
usually
Although
there's a
that
seeing,
sailor.
usually happens during the summer, though, rather than a trade
yes,
deadline time. But yeah,
yes, but it could happen at the deadline too, right? Like, let's say
sure.
you know me. I've been talking about Kaliev. I really like Kaliev. Let's say LA for whatever reason they get an injury on they need Monahan or they need a goalie or they need Allen, and then if you throw in something else like an Evans, or if you throw in something that's valuable for LA and you can get a good prospect like Kaliev or somebody like that, to me that's buying. Yes, you're selling off expiring assets, but you're buying a new asset that fits in your plan. So as long as you're not buying something that's you're not sacrificing the future for the present, that I agree with for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Awesome. It was a great wish list about that. I think we have a good time about the situation about Montreal Canadiens. Well, a couple of questions to be the end of the show. We have about a couple of more minutes. Uh, um, Randy is in the house. Randy Walkman, thanks to be with our Canadian Live show. Luc
Andy,
Lafortune, I missed that one. Luc Fortin, I apologize. I wish for the Hab they do a full year with no injury or course, this will only be the next year about that. And then the Enortap and Marko, NAS 26 in the house. Maybe he came here before I cannot remember honestly. I did not record it, but great. You have a lot of great posts and comments tonight in the chat. So I just want to mention that part over there, and we wish Luc Lafortune very happy holidays and Merry Christmas. Sometimes you better to be silent at talking in the chat sometimes. So about that.
Silence is golden.
Exactly about that. I'm not talking about Luc. Luc is a great Luc. Celebrate his Merry Christmas already, I'm sure. About that. Anyway, let's move on. What we got here, guys. We got that one over there. To have this one, I did forget. Here we go. Big question for you guys. Trade to keep. A couple of days ago, Marko talked about keep or not Savard. Today, I talk about Monahan. But now we have to add Madison and Jake Allen. So we do another look about this. You know, it would be easy to talk about Pearson, but do you think you will for the next 2 years? Do you think it would be better for Montreal Canadiens or the next couple of months keep Savard, Madison, Jake Allen, and Madison and Savard and Monahan? So briefly, and Enortap, start with that one. Give us what do you think? Yes or no? Keep on the trade.
Again, Coach, it all comes down to what your return is. And I know there's positives and negatives towards making these decisions at this point, right? I agree with you when you say that, if Monahan goes, then you lose that experience element. So I get that. But if the return for him is something that fits into your plans, like I said, and it makes your team stronger down the road for that consistency, then I think you owe it to yourself to explore that and see what you can do. Now, to trade all of your veterans, I think that would be ill advised. You can't give Savard and Matheson and Monahan away, even if the return is great, because you do have predominantly a very young team. They're already, I think, second or third youngest team in the league. And if you take those guys away, they do become your youngest. And it's hard to, it's great to grow together. I get that, but you also need that veteran voice in the locker room that can guide them, whether it's in the room or it's on the ice. They need that. So Allen, I think I think that's inevitable. I've been saying it every week, saying this is the week I think we're going to see him go. And I've been hearing all sorts of things, and but they're all rumors at this stage, speculation. A lot of talk coming out of Edmonton, apparently, a good deal that seems to be today. Elliot Friedman sort of backed this up and said it looks like for if we take a bad contract, i.e., Jack Campbell back, they're willing to throw in Broberg. And for what? For future considerations. So that's something that's sort of swirling the rumor mill. I don't put much.
I wouldn't put much. That would be a disaster. That would be an absolute disaster.
But they got the cap space. I think that's what the logic is, and they're looking at the defense there, but it then allows you. Yeah, but it allows you now to really package some good defensemen and address other things. But again, that's not my saying. I'm just repeating what I read.
I've heard from get there too, but
from a decent source.
Yeah, not a good fit for us.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of teams are having difficulty in net, either through injury or poor production. So I think they've done a good job of waiting and being patient, and I think they're about to strike any moment now. I think one of the goalies will go for sure, and I think it'll probably be Allen.
Yeah, great stuff. Like, so I've been repeating myself, it seems like, over the show, but this trade deadline might be different, because again, we're going to see a cap going up next year. So you're going to see teams maybe a little bit looser with kind of what they're willing to do in terms of, like somebody like Savard in terms of having an extra year. We know in years past, it's almost unthinkable that teams wanted to take on somebody that didn't have an expiring contract. Maybe teams have a little bit more flexibility knowing that there's going to be some flexibility with the cap going up next year, right? So that's a bit of a game changer there. But you guys know my position with Savard. That was my headline last week. For me, the value of keeping Savard, I weigh that it seems like it would be higher to keep him than giving him away for several reasons. He's a right-hand shot. He's more defensively, like he has that big brother kind of sense. He loves playing in Montreal, and the number is good. So that all those things though make him probably a very sought after resource in the market as we get closer to the trade deadline, right? To me, there's no way you can move both Madison and Savard and Enortap, like you were saying. I would definitely be more inclined to keep Savard just because of the makeup of the roster that we have and the depth that we have on the left-hand side on defense, right? So to me, if there's a market out there for Matheson, and I don't see why there wouldn't be, imagine if you're a good team and you plug Matheson in your top four, not on a top pair, kind of like Pittsburgh was utilizing him on in the playoffs a couple of years ago, and he had a really good playoff. That's a nice fit, and his number is very, very, very manageable, right? For somebody.
Marco, just look at a team like New Jersey that pretty much lost Hamilton for the rest of the year. I mean, they're looking for a puck-carrying defenseman, and he might fit the bill.
Yeah. So for me, guys, I think all of these players, other than Savard, would be ones that I would absolutely trade for sure. There's another player on this radar, which you're probably going to laugh at me. And I'm not saying you get a lot for him, right? But another player, which is kind of a trade or keep,
Laugh at you
especially
will be not the first time.
It would not be at least once a show. I like to come out with something that is a little bit off the wall, right? But I would add Jake Evans to this list. Jake Evans, I think there's teams calling about Jake Evans right now. He's getting extra kind of ice time, so he's a little bit more visible out there right now. And if you look at his contract, he has a very manageable number. People remember him from playing at guys, don't forget, he was playing up in the top 6 at sometimes in that run where we in the finals in 2021. He was playing up and down the lineup. Yes, he mostly played on the fourth line sometimes, but he was also playing up on the upper lines. He replaced Tatar on a couple lines with that line with Danault and stuff like that, right? If you remember. So he can be a versatile player. And I think teams looking for a little depth at center, they could be knocking on the door for Evans. But again, that's the question. So if you're getting a third round pick, or let's say they're the market for a depth center goes insane and somebody's willing to give you a second round pick for Jake Evans, my position right now is we don't need more second round picks. I just don't think we don't. Yes, I know you can package them up, but guys, we've made so many picks over the last 4 or 5 years. We don't need more mid-level prospects. We've accumulated, you guys watch Hoarders. It's kind of like Hoarders, right? I decided I had a good deal on Christmas lights. I couldn't pass up this great deal I saw on Christmas lights. But then you go into your hoard, into your bedroom, and you see you have 8 different packs of Christmas lights that you bought over the last 5 years because you forgot that you have all these Christmas lights. Well, that's kind of what it feels like with Montreal Canadiens and their prospects right now. We have so many prospects that we don't need to add more.
Marco?
What?
We have 11 picks this year as well.
It's insane. It's too much. They need to start.
Yeah, it is.
They need to start kind of liquefying that, liquidating some of that. So to me, I would much rather keep Jake Evans. He plays a good role. He kills penalties. But I wouldn't be surprised. I would put him on that list, Coach. I don't know if you think it's crazy, but I would put Jake Evans on this list of trade or keep as well.
But again, always thinking every time you take a player, do we have someone to take his spot?
Correct.
This is always like that. When they trade Romanov, right? They
Yeah.
say we are fine, we are coolly. I don't say
Yeah.
we don't have anybody for Jake Evans. I just said, do
You
we
don't.
have a player to take his spot? Like for me, Monahan, do we have
Yeah.
someone? Saval, I'm more risk. The old of Saval is bigger at Monahan leave because Saval, we don't have
Yeah.
anybody. Mayu
Yeah.
is
Right,
about
exactly.
2 years before he come to Montreal.
I
Rebecca,
agree.
I don't think so. He's going to be ready yet. So
Yeah.
this is the reason why who we have to take his spot about that. And do we
Do
have
you think
him to put him out? Now we have to looking for someone and who we're going to give in return. What kind of trade we're going to get in return, and who is going to be that kind of player in Montreal. This is
So we
what the
agree,
reason
Coach.
why I'm
So
not
we agree.
pretty
always
much
agree to make a trade.
That's what. So we
Owen
agree,
Beck?
Coach. Like, trading Evans. If you're getting a 3rd round pick or a 4th round pick for Jake Evans, you just keep him. You just like you. There's no value in trading that guy right now.
Until Owen Beck is ready, until they figure out, because in the 2 years, guys, we're going to lose. If we
There.
lose Monahan this year, after that, we're going to
Yeah.
lose the Warak.
Yeah.
And at some point, Jake Evans become a bit more important at $1.5 million, whatever you want to give him money about this. I'll be honest with you, I was not expect Evans do very well with money with that line right now. I was not feel that way, but he looking better. But again, they have a lot of Jake Evans in the NHL. The point is they get inside the because we have to open spot for the young players at some point. We have to try to see what happened. Joshua, where Eneman is under one. We
They're not
expect
centers, Coach. They're not
But Beck,
centers.
Beck,
Oh,
Beck
nice.
is close. Beck is very close.
Guys, I'm not. I don't think so. Like, I think Beck is going to
He
need to
is. He is,
play
Marko.
at least a year or two in the AHL, guys. I don't see Beck cracking an NHL lineup in the first. I don't think he's going to play in the NHL next year. I don't think so.
Well, let's see how he does at the juniors, and that'll go a long
He's
way in helping us after.
he's slotted to play 4th line, by the way, on Canada's team right now.
Well, I don't want to see Joshua Roy in Montreal, but I think Owen Beck could be the one. We'll see what he look like the next year for sure. But
Yeah.
he's the next one to can be in the Montreal Canadiens the sooner. We'll see. We'll see what we got here, guys. We have about 5 minutes to go. Next 2 game at preview: Minnesota, Chicago, Montembeau start against Minnesota. Who's going to be the next one? And then between both of you, give me your prediction both game and the people in the chat.
You go ahead first. You're the prediction expert, Enortap.
I don't know. Well, we're duplicating with what we did last time because we had 3 games on the slate, and I had said 2-1. Now they got the 1 win. I'm going to stick to my horses. I think we go 1-1 here, and we end up 2-1 in these 3 games. Who are they going to play in net? I think that was sort of established that we were going to go with Monty against Minnesota, and I would not be surprised if they go to Primo against Chicago, and then hopefully the goalie situation gets solved at that point.
Yeah, I think that was the one that Coach got wrong. I think I'm the only one that predicted that Allen was going to be playing against Winnipeg, and then, but anyways, so I think you're right. I think for sure Monty's confirmed for tomorrow. I would be shocked that it's not Primo in Chicago. My prediction, I think I always said 1-1-1. So, I thought maybe they were going to get that tie in Winnipeg. So I thought they were going to win in Chicago, tie in Winnipeg, and lose in Minnesota. I still think they're going to lose in Minnesota. So I might change my prediction because I thought they were going to tie against Winnipeg, and I think they are going to win in Chicago. So I'm going to change. Am I allowed to change my prediction, Coach?
Oh yeah,
You're
you
giving
can
us.
change it, but we're not going to put this on the.
Oh, you're not going to honor it. Okay, well, okay.
Okay.
Maybe I should have put that
Lay
on
it
my
out.
Christmas. Maybe I'll have that on my Christmas wish list for next time, Coach. To
Like the
be able
French
to get.
equal will give you a 0.5 in our time.
I'll I guess unofficially change my pick to 2-1 for this week because I think they'll probably
Way to go,
win in
Marko.
Chicago. Yeah.
Usually you don't want to agree with me, but that's
I don't like agreeing with you. I don't like it. Not one bit.
In our time.
Oh, I said it. 2-1.
Coach is obsessed with the chat. He's not even listening to what we're saying right now.
I know.
Now I was paying more attention, Marco, what you said about that one there. Because I'm thinking about Luc. Luc, he said
So you were
3-0
ignoring
this
me.
week.
That's right. Yeah, because Luc usually goes 0-4 or 0-3.
Yeah.
But then we were all surprised.
I don't know
went
why he go 3-0. Do you think he feels something we did not know about that?
Hey, listen, like he could see like we've been talking about, Coach. Like we're seeing a little bit more consistency in what the Habs are doing. So listen, we have to get Coach, and it's the end of the year show, right? Let's take a minute to really. I just want to point out just how blown away I am about the hockey knowledge in some of the people in our chat, some of our regulars. Let's really kind of give it a moment. Like like we laugh at Luc, we joke around with Luc, but this is a guy that knows his hockey, right? Like a lot of the people that we have on here, guys. You read some of the chat every. When I'm not doing the show live with you, Coach, and I'm in the chat, like. On my wish list, and any of you here, guys, I just want to say how grateful, I'm sure all of us are to be in a great community like this. And we have some really smart hockey people on this channel. So just want to take a minute to kind of really, really thank everyone for all this year. And it's really awesome.
Absolutely. I agree with you about that. I think we have a lot of great people. That's the reason we come back every night because those people are here at Mr. Marko and Enortap. Like you are. This channel would not be possible without both of you. We are really grateful and thankful. I'm talking for myself first, but I'm talking about the people in the chat. And we need to recognize them too because we have a lot of people bring a lot of subject in the chat and they are very good. Whatever we not always agree with them, that's like the reason the channel is so good because we are respectful between all of us. So that's the most important things for me, Marko and Enortap. I have a lot more talking about, but we're going to keep that one for another time. Of course, we want to finish the show, guys, to remind everybody, happy holidays and Merry Christmas for each one of them. I know, and we want to be sure we'll be safe to see each one of you want to come back in January in 2024. This is the last show of the weekly recap, the last Sunday, and this is the last show of the locker room for this season. And 2023 will be back in 2024, stronger and better. And we'll be interested, Marko. We're going to see the Montreal Canadiens in Enortap in the standing when we come back in January. But again, we want to thank all of you, everybody in the chat. Merry Christmas and happy holidays. But we cannot finish the show, Mr. Enortap and Marko, without to let you know this because that's who you are. You are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you. You have greatness inside of you. We want to thank the super chat of Rick Bengal and RJ Calabro. Delivery all the update all the time is amazing. All the moderator we got tonight, Mr. Luciano and of course Mr. Danny T. And we want to thank Ron with Kings. Pop up sometime and Jose Eduardo always in the prayer for us. And we wish you the speed recovery, Jose, of course. And they have other people that have some kind of problem with their health. Rasta Bington, one of them, Richard Modern is another one. And that'll conclude an amazing, great show tonight. We are really grateful and thankful for all of you. Mr. Enortap, you are the man, the legend of the friendship quiz, and Marko, you knowledgeable about hockey is excellent, and we are really appreciate both of you to be with us. I will let you, both of you, to give us the last word of the show, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Enortap and Mr. Marko.
Yeah, I just want to first of all thank both of you for working together. I think it's been a fantastic uh, time together, and I hope to see more of it. And for our Hockey Nation family, have a wonderful Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We'll see you in the New Year.
Enough. Marco.
Yeah, same to you guys. It's a great pleasure kind of being able to come on here with you guys. You guys welcomed me on the show and really taught me the ropes, being on a podcast and everything. So really appreciate the opportunity. It's a lot of fun to kind of do these with you and put up with my crazy ideas sometimes. And I really appreciate it. Looking forward to another great year with you guys. And to everybody in the chat, like Coach said, we don't always agree, but I love chatting with you guys. Love coming here. It's a great family that we have. So thank you, Coach, for providing this platform for all of us. You guys, I've said it before, Coach is the James Brown of Hockey Night Podcast. He is the hardest working man in the Habs Nation, doing these podcasts, putting together videos, working hours and hours and hours, putting live streams, putting these great videos together. Kudos to you, sir. You do great work. Thank you very much. Thanks for everything you do for us.
Thanks so much, Marco. I appreciate that for everybody. Because again, without you guys, you bring so much in the channel. At the end of the day, when we build that channel with Marco Devano, by the way, we said hi to Marco Devano. Other people we don't mention again that way, like Randy Walkman pop up sometime. Marco D'Amico is another one. I take a day off. Demon this year was too busy in December. Hopefully, we'll be back in January. But again, the reason we come back every day is because you guys, you bring so much on the table, and that's the reason the Hockey Nation grow slowly, properly, the right way. Until the next time, guys, we want to remind everybody, be well, find a way, be well. Be healthy. Also, find a way not only dominate your day, but find a way to dominate the second half or what them is on the tap for the last time of the year. Let's do it.
2023.
He did it again. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays. The most important thing, guys, take the time to celebrate your family and your friend. And don't hesitate to tell someone how much you love them. Until the next time, a sweet dream at the Hockey Nation Show and the Habs Nation want to say one more thing. Of course, we love you people. An amazing great night, everybody. Thanks, Marko. Enortap.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, guys. Thank you
Thanks
very
so
much.
much. Bye-bye.
It's just gonna be you and me. Hang by the fire chill. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories. And I've been longing to hold you close. Forget about everyone else. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories.
Booyah!